Recognize the names of Mario Savio and Bettina Apteca. I'm trying to identify who's saying yes, who's applauding, and who's saying, huh, who are they? Well, the movement that was created by the free speech movement spread all over the country. And as a result, every single college and university campus is supposed to have a free speech area. At UC Berkeley, it's Sproul Plaza. And what is it for Pacific University? Well, see, we need historical memory, right? Because I think probably many people have completely forgotten that. And it seems to me that the new generation of youth has expressed a renewed interest in radical change. The grandchildren of the generation that participated in and witnessed Freedom Summer. And I think that probably many of you are of that generation, right? I think that every college and university campus should organize some kind of event to recall and acknowledge the courage of young people who help to change the world, even in the face of terrorism. And I say terrorism because they were fighting a war against terrorism. And their weapons were their passion, their dedication, their collective courage. They believed that they could make a change, and they did. And Freedom Summer not only changed the North, it changed the culture of campuses everywhere. The university itself was revolutionized for a moment. And I was just thinking, as I was preparing these remarks, wouldn't it be amazing to organize a Freedom Summer 2014?
Wow.
I have some ideas about themes around which it could be organized, because of course the country has changed a great deal. And there are issues that the activists in 1964 would not have even imagined. They wouldn't have been able, they didn't possess the vocabulary that would have allowed them to express those issues. But let me continue with my discussion of anniversaries, and then we'll get on to what the agenda should be in the second decade of the 21st century. So I've talked about an upcoming 50th anniversary. Last year was a major year of anniversaries. It was the sesquicentennial of the Emancipation Proclamation. It was the 50th anniversary of the Birmingham Campaign. And of course, at that time, Martin Luther King wrote his well-known letter from a Birmingham jail. The March on Washington took place in August of 1963. But in October of that year, perhaps the most dramatic and tragic event occurred, the bombing of the 16th Street Baptist Church. Now, I was happy last year to learn that the families of the 4 girls were given congressional medals of honor, the highest civilian honor. But there was something very troubling to me about those memorializations. How easy it is to think about Carol Robertson and Denise McNair, Cynthia Collins and Addie Mae Collins and Cynthia Wesley. I'm sorry that I messed that name up because Cynthia Wesley was a neighbor of mine growing up, and I knew her virtually all of her life. But it is easy to think of them as 4 innocent black girls whose lives were destroyed by evil white racists, right? And therefore to exceptionalize the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing. Of course, I'm not disputing the fact that these 4 young girls were killed by racists. What I am disputing is the exceptionalization of the event. And what I would like you to reflect on is how easy it is to divest such events of their surrounding context and to submit them to a kind of process of historical abstraction. And I'm saying that if we refuse to acknowledge the complexity of this and other historical events, we will never be capable of apprehending the violence, the racist violence, the sexist violence, the homophobic violence, the anti-immigrant violence that continues to erupt in our lives today. Because if we treat the 16th Street Baptist Church bombing as an exceptional example of racist violence in the 21st century, then we also tend to treat the case of Trayvon Martin as an exceptional example of racist violence in the 21st century. Earlier on, I used the term terrorism for a reason. The history of this country is in part a history of terrorism. I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama. Birmingham was called Bombingham because so many bombings took place. It was not an unusual event. I lived in a neighborhood that was called Dynamite Hill. This was domestic terrorism. But we have so domesticated our understandings of what happened that we fail to perceive the terrorism.